I'm Tania Rogers, and you're listening to Mindful Hustler, the podcast helping entrepreneurs get out of their heads and onto building their dreams. Together, we're building businesses while balancing minds. Let's dive in. Today is going to be a fun one because I get to sit down with the Keri Smith, co-founder and CEO of Progressive Home Care. Progressive Home Care is a family and Black-owned home healthcare agency that's been serving Northern New Jersey and New York communities with dignity and compassion since 2006. Keri's story isn't just about entrepreneurship, it's about answering a calling to care for others, even when the road isn't easy. Keri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for even having me.
I know a lot of people know you as the boss, but I know you as family. I know our family goes back a few generations. If I'm not
Ooh.
mistaken, our grandmothers were best friends, or tell
Yeah.
me exactly. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. We grew up. My mother and your grandmother was besties. And then your grandmother is my godmother.
Wow. Okay, so it
So
goes
yeah. So
way
you
back.
guys are really my god sisters and whatever,
Yes,
god
yes.
niece.
Well, I'm so honored that you decided to join us today. Keri is booked and busy. If booked and busy was the definition, that would be you.
That will be me. I never sleep. I never not answer my phone calls.
Yes, yes. You are always just on the go, taking care of family, working, running your business. And I'm just so inspired by watching you over these years as I grew up just watching you be this strong and influential, powerful woman. You're the woman
Mhm.
in the family where, you're always traveling. So whenever we have family vacays, you're the one rounding the troops and you have the itineraries and you are a natural born leader.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I know. I love traveling, and I want my family to get a part of that.
Yeah. So
So that's why I always try to organize that.
take me back to your early years before you launched Progressive Home Care. What was it like for you before you started to become an entrepreneur and bet on yourself?
Okay. Well, I was working. I was a hard worker, and I worked in the hospitals. I worked in, a private practice because before becoming a nurse, I was a dental nurse, dental hygienist. So I really worked, in the hospitals, private practice, and just trying to, navigate that career,
Hmm.
which
What
was
was
exciting. I really loved that. I loved that career. I really did.
Yeah. What was that hospital life like back when you were
I
working?
always wanted to work in a hospital because, you see the soap operas, General Hospital and all that. And I said, oh my God, I got to get into the hospital. I got to get into the hospital. So I saw an opening in one and I applied for it and I got it. And I was just so happy because I was able to meet other people and I love meeting people, talking to other people, because when you're in private practice, you're just the doctor, yourself, and the clients that come in. So I was like, no, I want to branch out. I want to see other people. I'm young. I want to, just meet people and do other things. And I did. I got to work in the OR, I got to work in the ER. I got to just, in the clinics, and it was just exciting to me. It was really exciting to me.
Many of our listeners feel stuck in unfulfilled but good jobs. Was there a defining moment where you realized you didn't want to go the traditional path and stay in that exciting hospital life? What made you actually start Progressive Home Care?
Well, the last hospital that I worked in New York, they were getting ready to close up. So I said, you know what? Let me transition myself into another field. And I saw that they had, a franchise home care agency. So I said, you know what, I investigated and I talked to them and I was really talking to them. And I really went to their classes and I, went to their openings and what have you. And I said, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. So at the same time I was launching that, like I said, that hospital closed up. So I was like, okay, good, cool. I got my little package and I started that in Jersey City. This was before Progressive Home Care. So I had an agency before Progressive Home Care and didn't really know what I was doing, but I was fumbling through. Later disconnected myself from the franchise because they said I wasn't doing it their way. I didn't care. So I continued to do it, and it was in Jersey City. The name of that company was BP Senior Care, and it was named after my mother maiden name, which was Bradford, and my father's name, Pla, and I shortened it out to BP Senior Care. And as I had that going, there was a Jewish company, a Jewish group, husband and wife that wanted to do that business as well. So they wanted to come in with me, but I didn't want them to come in with me. So I did a franchise with them. So they did a spun off on my name. And matter of fact, to this day, it's still happening. They still have it. So there's a BP Senior Care down in Lakewood, and it's owned by a Jewish couple, and they're boasting. So later on, it was consuming my life because I really didn't know what I was doing. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna sell it. So I did sell it, got rid of it. And I was just working in assisted living facilities, and I was going to school, and I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. And then all of a sudden I got a spirit, the Holy Spirit said, open it up. I said, no, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this again. And I did. Progressive home care came about. So I listened to my instincts, I listened to the Holy Spirit, and that's how Progress Home Care came into existence.
Back because you said your journey started from a closure. And it
Yeah.
actually just it brought me back to a memory of when I don't even know how old I was at the time. You might know, but I
Mm.
remember my mom came home with a box
Mhm.
and she was let go of her job. And
Okay.
she called you and
Mhm.
you immediately you offered her a position at your agency. I don't know which agency it was at the
It
time.
was Progressive Home Care.
Okay, but remember I remember watching my mom come home and she wasn't forthcoming with what had happened. She had lost her job.
Mhm.
Eventually I put two together, but I remember that seeing the fear in her eyes and then that
Mhm.
fear after I remember she was on the phone with you, maybe it was like the next day or so, and she was
Mhm.
just lit up and she was excited and you provided that opportunity, which
Mhm.
is so powerful. Thank you. I don't we've never had this conversation, but thank you.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yes. Yes, yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is so powerful. I mean, it really you provide so much for so many families when you do it, not
Mhm.
only just money, but opportunity.
Yeah.
So so let's go back there. So it was the closure. Were you afraid? Like what happened? Did you feel like, okay, I'm just gonna start a business? Or like what went through your head and what gave you the courage to actually do that?
I just went with my gut and the Holy Spirit, and he guided me through. So once he guided me through, it was like a wrap, you know. And I had, like my part-time job that I was doing, which was in the evening. So I would leave Progressive Home Care around like 2 o'clock or whatever and run over to the assisted living facility and work there, and which I enjoyed. And then, I would still be on the phone with my computer and stuff like that. But I had my son, he was working as well with me, so he would handle when I was leaving. And then we set it up, where it got more computerized, where we can just really look at everything on the computer and keep moving. So then I just kept adding more stuff onto it. I added the school onto it where we, train people, because I got a vision that if we train them, we can use them because now we know how they've been trained. So, and that really came to fruition, because we had a lot of people that we trained got their license, and now they're working for us. And they've been working for us for a long time, including your mom. So, and I didn't know that this now was coming to fruition, that you can't work as a home health aide unless you have the license. So, that I didn't know, because in the beginning you could just work without it. But once they put that into effect, I said, oh, I'm already doing it. So that's good. So I was already doing it. I was already teaching them. I was already getting them licensed and keep them moving, and they've been licensed ever since. So and I get a lot of people that come to me to renew their license, or they want to go to the school, and I get them on this platform, and they're in the school, they're doing their thing, and when they finish, I get them licensed. Whether they work with me or not, it's okay. But at least I started their career.
Yeah, yeah, you provide the platform, you provide the training, the education, and they're able to take what they want with that,
Right.
and provide
Right.
families. That's
Right.
amazing,
Right.
amazing
Exactly.
feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, our show often explores how childhood conditioning shapes us. And I'm a big believer in that. As a therapist, I love to explore what are the experiences you've had in childhood that shape your adulthood. So, what beliefs around success, safety, or self worth did you have to unlearn in order to step into entrepreneurship?
Well, I learned last year when I went to my family reunion, and I learned that my grandfather was an entrepreneur. I knew my father was, but I didn't know my grandfather was. And he had a huge restaurant, well-known restaurant in Key West, no, Cuba. And he would feed the homeless and all kinds of people, and he would just give jobs to people and everything like that. And then when my father came up from Key West, he had an entrepreneur, and he had a parking lot down in Manhattan. So, he was doing cars and stuff like that. And he did that ever since we were little. So I think I have that in my spirit. So it just came natural to me. And I just said, okay, let me just do this. And I did. Entrepreneur is in your blood. So, and I guess because I had a famous uncle and he went on the road and the plays and stuff like that, and wrote a lot of music and stuff like that. He was an entrepreneur himself too. So it was all in both families, my father and my mother's families. It's in the blood. It's in the
It's
blood.
in the
It's
blood.
it's in the pipeline.
Was there ever a moment where you've failed or thought you failed, but looking back now, you see it's a redirection?
Yeah, some moment when some things didn't go the way they should have went, and I said, okay, that's a learning curve. Like the first agency, it didn't go the way I thought it was, and I said, oh, I failed. But then I said, no, I didn't fail because that was a stepping point to get to
Yeah.
where I'm at now. So that was like a hump. So it taught me how to do it better, and it put me where I'm at now because what I learned there, I put in progressive, and I was able to, move on. So at first I thought, oh man, I failed with that, but I didn't really fail. Holy Spirit said, you didn't fail. You just moved on to the next chapter.
What were some of those lessons that you took with you?
Um, the lessons that I took with me is, first of all, when you start an agency or whatever, you have to have a policy and procedure manual. So I took that lesson on how to do that, um, and do it correctly. And, got some tips from this person, that person, and was able to put it together. I got that now that we need to have a organized schedule for the aides. They can't be just going all over the place. So we put that in place, and we got like a program that we uh built for that. So we just really went a lot of computerized now, so it makes things a lot easier, and everything is in a nice package. So it's much different than what it was before. Before it was like paper and stuff like that. I had a little couple of computers, but I knew we had to get to another part. And by leaving that, got me to this other part where I'm all computerized now.
Did you have any moment where you felt like it's like what you're doing now, you're really like running a steady ship. Like everything
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like polished and it seems great. What I'm trying I guess I'm curious, like what were some moments that actually got you there? It sounds like definitely starting that new agency. But
hmm
is that just your personality? Like you're always just like very like militant with your business?
Pretty much. I'm like that at home too. In order for me to achieve everything, everything has to be in order. And I do everything a certain way. Like I clean the house up at a certain time. I do it in the morning. I do everything in the upstairs. Then I go downstairs. And I get up enough time to do all this. I do my laundry so that the weekend is for me. See, I always think about I do everything early because I have all the energy. So when I come home from work, I don't have to do anything but just do me. I could look at my power, I could look at my shows, I can relax. So it has to be in order for me. If it's not in order for me, I'm I'm not there. I'm like all over the place.
I need to learn from you. How did you do this with young kids? Because you're a mother. I know your
Yeah.
kids are now. They're older, but
Yeah.
how did you do it when they're younger? Because I'm struggling. I need like a pen and paper right now.
Order. I had order. I just looked because you know what it was? My mother had 8 of us and she was not ordered. She didn't have any order. Everything was all over the place. And I got in that house and I made it order for her. I used to do it for her and I was little and I said, "Oh my God, this is like so chaotic." She would send us to the store 50 times for one or two things. And I said, why don't you just give me a list and I go once a week and get everything and I don't have to go every other day and you save money. Oh, girl, just go. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So I put it in the back of my mind that she was not organized and she was running all over the place with the chicken with a head cut off. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to make sure everything was organized. So when I had my daughter, everything was organized. I had to get her up in time to go to school so I can go to work. Everything was, and then when I had my son, the same thing. I had to get them both up now. I had two, and I had to get them both up, get them ready. I had everything ready the night before. So this way I could take him to the babysitter, her to the school, drop them all off, and go to work. And that's the way I was just organized.
So that's the childhood conditioning part that I'm talking about. So as a child, you saw the opposite and it didn't make you feel good. And then you decided to do the opposite. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Like now I cook for the whole week on Sunday. I go to church, come home church, I make my meals for the week, maybe three different dishes, and it's in the refrigerator. So I don't have to cook when I come home. There's people say, "Oh, I gotta cook." I don't cook, my food is already done. So if I just want to eat, get it out the refrigerator, and there it is. Because I'm saying I worked all day and I exercised and I came home and I'm tired. I'm not time to cook. I don't have no time to clean up. All that's done before I left. So therefore, when I come back, take my shower, relax. That's it.
So
I
what
can't
advice
relax if it's in a chaotic state.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone like me who is relative like a new mom, right? I have like
Mm.
a almost 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old. They're not in school yet. So, obviously my mom helps out a lot, thankfully.
Thank
And
God for that. Right?
yes, and Brandon's mom helps out a lot too. Like we're very lucky to have both of them, but it still does feel like, I want to juggle both the home
Mm.
and business. At
Mhm.
what like, I don't think that there is a realistic balance of it all. So, yeah, what's some advice you would have
You
for
just
me?
gotta think. You just gotta think of how you want to navigate through it. What is your end goal? What do you want to do so that you can have because you have to have your downtime yourself too. And if you got to question yourself, am I getting my downtown by doing it this way? No, I'm still wind up. I'm still doing this. Okay, so I have to have a system. So you got to create a system.
Am
You
I
got to
know
say, okay, my system is that I'm going to wash the laundry once a week, and this is the day I'm going to do it. I'm going to clean up the house. Like I'll get up early, a little earlier on Fridays, and I clean the whole house up. And then I get my husband's breakfast together. Then I take my shower and I'm ready. And I be doing the laundry at the same time. So I use that. So this way, when I go to work, when I come back, all that stuff is done. I don't have to do none of that stuff on the weekend.
how do you stick to the system when your kids are so unpredictable? Because I have systems, it's just that sticking to it, that's the hard part for me.
You got to get them to stick to it as well. And if they see that you're doing it like that, then that's what they're going to pick up. But if they see scatterbrains all over, that's what they're going to be. But they see you organize and say, okay, we got to close the clothes, we got to do this, we got to do that. Then they're going to say, oh, so this is the way it's supposed to be. Because kids mimic your parents. Unfortunately, I didn't mimic my mother, but my other brothers and sisters did. But I took, some of the value from her because my mother was a teacher. I took some of the values from her, but the scatterbrain stuff, no, I couldn't deal with that. Organization, yes. I like organization. I like things organized, and that's what it says in the Bible. You have to be organized, right?
You
So
know
if you want to have a life,
True. I just wonder, you think it could be like a generational thing too, though? Because I think millennials, when I talk to my friends who have kids too and who work and
mm,
have businesses, it's like I think sometimes we try to bend to the child. Like for me, I believe in like Montessori style. So like I never
mhm,
want to be so rigid with the
mhm,
structure, but then at
right,
the same time, I see that they do thrive with routine and that I thrive with routine as well. I need it.
mhm.
So I'm just trying to figure out, maybe there is no answer, but I'm just wondering like what is that balance of like giving yourself the space to be free, but then also being organized and sticking to the system? I don't know.
Well, back in the day when I had kids, daycare and school was cheaper.
Mm,
Okay. Now it's so expensive that if you work from home, you just keep your kids there. So you don't
right?
have a separation.
Yes.
Where I had a separation because when Mercy was old enough to go to daycare, she went to daycare and I did my little thing and went to work and what have you and did what I had to do. When Danny was old enough to go, well, he was 2 months old when he went to the babysitters because I had to work. So, he got used to that and the babies get used to that. So when it was time for him, and he was into the Monte School sort of program as well. So when I put him in there at 2 years old, I went to work. So both of them was in their own little world. Mercy was in school, he was in daycare, I was at work. So it was it was easier. But these days, daycare is so expensive. And if you have two, you're talking about an arm and a leg and an arm. So you'd be working like 3 and 4 jobs just to pay for that. So that's where it's a lot different now than it was back then.
Right. And I did want my kids to stay home until 3. I just like the idea of it, but now that I'm
Mm,
actually doing it, I'm like, okay, like it's different
it's
than
time.
than having the idea. It's very difficult. It's even with
Yeah.
help, it's very
Yeah.
difficult. But you're right, having that separation definitely I could see it being different because even once a week, the kids will go to Brandon's mom's house for a few
Mm,
hours.
mm,
That time that I get to just like clear my mind
mm.
feels different. It feels like I
Yeah.
can get more done. So
Right.
I think
Right.
that's
Right. Right.
maybe this is
And you
just
work from
maybe
home. And you work from home, so
yeah,
you don't have an outlet. You didn't say, okay, I'm going to the office.
right,
You're
yeah.
going to your places, I'm going to your office. And and then when you get back home, you said, okay, we're all back home and everything's organized. So now we can just continue, our evening time. But yours is all swooshed up in one. So it's really difficult. Difficult. It makes it difficult. Back in my day, there was no home work. You had to go to the office. You had to punch that clock. But when COVID came,
Yeah.
changed a lot of things.
It's yeah, I want to shift gears a little bit actually because a lot of our listeners that are just getting started, they're scared of being judged. I know I was when I failed, maybe they don't feel good enough. What would you tell the woman who feels that right now, of who wants to start a business but feels all of those things?
If it's in you to do this, you're going to do it regardless. Yes, you may have pitfalls, you may, be stumbling a little bit, but God got your back. If he tells you to do this, he got your back and he'll pull you back up. And he'll give you the right path to do it. But you'll never know until you jump in and do it. You'll just be sitting down saying, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Before you know it, you're like 80 years old. I should have had a business. I should have had this. Well, you had the opportunity, but you didn't take it. Just jump right in and take that opportunity and keep moving. No, but always have something to fall on just in case it don't work. You got to make money too, but you have a foot and a half in your business and the other half foot, I'm working part-time here, I'm working at night to get this going. And once this is going, then, bye-bye, I'm off and running, you know. So you always have to have that in the back of your mind because you still have to have money coming in.
So build your empire as you're working something else until you
Yes.
that next
Yeah,
level.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I believe in apprenticeships. I think everyone should work in the type of business that they want to build until
Hmm.
they hit the ropes. And it sounds like that's what you did early on too. You worked in and then you built it. It's
Right,
exactly
right, exactly, exactly. Because I was working up until COVID. When COVID, came about, then I said, you know what? I don't want to get COVID with these patients. So, that's when it was really going hard in the beginning. So I said, you know what? I really don't need this job. So I said, I took a leave of absence. My leave of absence turned into, Keri, when you coming back? I don't know, because COVID is running really wild in this assisted living facility, and I don't want to get it. Peace out. And you know what? I didn't feel I was okay. I was
yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was okay. That little bit of check didn't bother me, so I was okay. And I just put most of my emphasis now on the business because
So
that's the bread and butter.
how do you know when to keep going if you do have a struggle? Because some things are just like you just need to figure it out. So like
Yeah.
for me, sometimes I do feel difficulties in the things that I do, but I know that if I just persevere, I'll keep going. How do you know when to change directions or when to just keep going down the same path?
Well, like I think about it, I meditate on it, pray about it, and then if everything is like, if he gives me which way to go, then I'm gonna go. And he says, you know what, don't go left, go right. It'll work out. I mean, he just tells me, like we had our accreditation just last week. And he was just telling me, do it this way, do it that way, do it that way. And I said, okay. And it came out. It hits on the T. It just hits on the T. So, we were good. We were good. But, I listened to that still voice and I never go wrong. I never go wrong. So, I mean, people will tell me, but if the still voice didn't give me the check, then I'm not going to do it. Like, you have a gut feeling in your heart, whether it's going to, if this is the path that you're supposed to go on, and you can visualize it. And I visualize, say, yeah, that's going to work. That's going to work, and it does. So you got to go with your gut.
Listen to your gut. Okay,
Yeah,
so I just have a few rapid fire questions for you before we end. And don't think too hard on this, just like write whatever comes to mind, okay? One word that describes your journey.
successful.
Your go-to mantra through tough days.
Just keep plugging it in.
One thing you wish you could tell your younger self.
You have a mission to do, and follow that mission.
I love that. One piece of it, if you could leave our audience with one truth about becoming the entrepreneur or the CEO of your life, what would it be? One truth.
If this is what God wants to have in store for you to do it, then pray over it and go for it.
Okay. Last one. What does hustle mindfully mean to you?
You got to hustle. Anything in this life, you got to hustle for it if you want it. If it's good, if it's something good, then hustle for it. If it's not good, then don't hustle for it. Life is a hustle.
I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Have such wisdom, and I appreciate you for it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode and you don't want to miss another, make sure you subscribe. See you next time.